Let's be honest. Dating in today's world feels like emotional dodgeball. We swipe, we scroll, we ghost, we get ghosted. We're taught to play hard to get, not get too attached, and definitely not be the first one to say, I like you. It's exhausting. And in the middle of all of this emotional gymnastics, we've forgotten the very thing that makes love real: vulnerability. You see, vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. It's the audacity to show up and let yourself be seen when there are no guarantees. Vulnerability is the most accurate measure of bravery in dating, and yet it's the thing we run from the most. We wear masks to seem cool. We act like we don't care. We guard our hearts because we believe it'll protect us from pain. But what it actually does is keep us from connection. I want to talk about what it really means to be vulnerable in love, and why it's the most important, most liberating thing you can do in a world that tells you to play it safe. Vulnerability is not oversharing. It's emotional integrity. One of the biggest misconceptions about vulnerability, especially in dating, is that it means spilling your entire life story to someone you just met. But that's not vulnerability. That's oversharing, and the two are very, very different. Vulnerability isn't about dumping your wounds on the table and hoping someone will stick around to clean up the mess. It's not trauma bonding. It's not saying, here's every scar I have, please fix me. What it is the courage to be real in the moment, to express what's true for you, even when it makes you feel exposed. Vulnerability is emotional integrity. It's alignment between your heart and your words. It's when you stop trying to manage someone else's perception of you and instead speak from a place of clarity and courage. It's saying, I'm feeling nervous, but I wanted to tell you I had a great time tonight. I'm not into casual hookups, and I just want to be honest about that. I'm starting to care about you, and that feels scary and exciting. Notice the difference. Vulnerability isn't about quantity of information. It's about emotional quality. You're not sharing to gain approval. You're not manipulating a response. You're not chasing connection. You're simply being true to yourself. And that truth becomes a mirror. It either reflects compatibility or it reveals a misalignment, and both are gifts. Oversharing, on the other hand, is usually rooted in anxiety. It's what we do when we're trying to track intimacy without real trust. It's often performative, even if we don't realize it, and it can leave us feeling even more disconnected when the person on the other end doesn't know how to hold that weight. So how do we practice vulnerable integrity in dating? We start by checking in with ourselves before we speak. We ask, am I sharing this because it's true for me or because I want to be liked? Am I looking for connection or control? Is this the right person and the right moment for this truth? Healthy vulnerability requires discernment. It's not a free-for-all. It's a gift. And like all gifts, it's best given when it's earned and received with care. You don't need to expose your entire heart on date one. You just need to show up honestly, say what you feel, own what you need. That's more than enough, because real intimacy isn't built on information. It's built on authenticity. And when you lead with emotional integrity, you create space for the kind of love that sees you, respects you, and meets you at your level of truth. Love can't exist without risk. Let's get one thing straight. Love is risky. It always has been. It always will be. We don't get to love someone deeply and also stay completely safe. That's not how it works. Love, by its very nature, is vulnerable. It asks us to let go of control, to soften our armor, and to open the door to both joy and pain. But most of us don't like that part. We want the connection without the fear, the intimacy without the uncertainty, the relationship without the risk. So we try to negotiate with love. We say things like, I'll let them in, but only a little. I'll love them, but I won't get too attached. I'll be honest, but only if I know they feel the same. That's not love. That's fear in disguise. You see, love can't be safe and sacred at the same time. If you're waiting for a guaranteed outcome before you let your heart show up, you'll be waiting forever. Because real love doesn't come with guarantees. It comes with risk. Risk of rejection, risk of disappointment, risk of loss, risk of being fully seen and not fully chosen. But here's the thing most people miss. Risk is not the enemy of love. It's the proof of it. Think about it. If there were no risk, there'd be no courage in love, no beauty, no growth. The magic of love is in its uncertainty. Because when someone says, I choose you, without a contract, without a safety net, without knowing how it will all unfold, that's not weakness. That's the most powerful thing in the world. And let's not romanticize pain either. Vulnerability doesn't mean ignoring red flags or staying where you're not valued. But it does mean letting go of the illusion that you can protect your heart and still live a life of deep emotional connection. You have to choose. Do you want safety or do you want love? Because real love requires presence, participation, and risk. It means being willing to say, I care about you, I miss you, I want to build something real, even if it might not be reciprocated. Even if you've been hurt before, even if your voice shakes when you say it, because the alternative is emotional isolation, and pretending not to care doesn't protect you. It just starves your soul of the connection it longs for. So if you're dating, if you're searching for love, if you're wondering why things always feel half, ask yourself, am I willing to take the risk that love requires? Because until you are, love won't feel like love. It'll feel like a negotiation, and you deserve so much more than that. You deserve a love that's real, and real love begins where fear ends, and where courage begins. The right person won't punish your honesty. One of the deepest wounds we carry from past relationships is this fear. If I show someone who I really am, they'll leave. And so, over time, we learn to edit ourselves. We water down our feelings, we downplay our needs, we hide our hopes and silence our pain, not because we're dishonest, but because somewhere along the way we were made to feel that our honesty was too much. Maybe you told someone how much you liked them and they ghosted you. Maybe you expressed a need and were called needy. Maybe you were emotionally open and it made someone uncomfortable, so they shut you out, and that pain cuts deep. It teaches you that your honesty is dangerous, that being seen is a liability, and so you start to believe that if you want love, you need to earn it by being less. But I want to tell you something that might change the way you date forever. The right person will not punish your honesty. The right person won't flinch when you tell them you want something meaningful. They won't label your emotional clarity as drama. They won't disappear when you say, I care about you. They won't shame you for having standards. Because people who are emotionally mature, people who are ready for love, value honesty. In fact, they find it refreshing, inviting, attractive. Your honesty is not a test for whether you're lovable. It's a filter for who's emotionally available. And every time someone walks away from your truth, they are doing you the favor of clearing space for someone who won't. When someone is right for you, they won't just tolerate your vulnerability, they will honor it. They will lean in, not back away. They will respond with respect, not ridicule. And when you say, this is who I am, they won't try to change you. They'll recognize you. You see, honesty in dating isn't just about being real. It's about finding out who's safe. If your emotional openness scares someone off, that's not a sign you were too much. It's a sign they were too little for the kind of connection you're capable of. So the next time you feel like hiding, remember this. Honesty is not the risk. Pretending is, because pretending keeps you stuck in relationships where you can't be fully loved, because you're not fully seen. The right person will never make you feel small for being brave enough to tell the truth. In fact, that's exactly what will make them love you more. Playing games isn't protection. It's emotional starvation. We've all done it. Waited 3 hours to reply to a text, even though we saw it the moment it came in. Pretended not to care, just to seem cool. Held back feelings we were dying to express because we didn't want to come off as too much. Laughed things off that hurt us. Downplayed our hopes, hid our real selves. Why? Because somewhere along the way we were told that if we want love, we have to act like we don't need it. That's the game, and it's everywhere in dating culture. Don't double text, don't compliment too much. Don't call first, don't show your heart. We treat love like a strategy, a performance, a silent competition to see who cares less. But let me tell you the hard truth. Playing games is not emotional safety, it's emotional starvation. When you deny your feelings just to look strong, you're not protecting yourself. You're abandoning yourself. You're keeping your own heart locked in a cage and wondering why it feels like no one truly sees you. Because no one can see you if you're too busy performing. We think we're avoiding pain by keeping things casual and cool, but what we're really avoiding is connection. Real love doesn't respond to manipulation. Real love doesn't blossom in silence. Real love doesn't grow in emotional droughts. When we play games, we end up attracting people who are also playing, so no one gets to be real. No one gets to be soft. No one gets to be known, and then we wonder why we feel so alone, even when we're with someone. Let's be clear, authenticity is not weakness. It's a superpower, and if being genuine scares someone off, let them go. Because the person who is meant for you, the person who is ready for you, won't be turned off by your sincerity. They'll be drawn to it. They'll match it. When you stop playing games, you create space for someone who's emotionally available. When you stop pretending, you make room for a relationship that's rooted in truth, not tactics. And when you stop starving your own heart of expression, you finally start feeding it the thing it's been craving all along: real, mutual, open-hearted love. So here's the invitation. Drop the game, drop the act, drop the armor, because the people who are looking for something real aren't impressed by performance. They're hungry for presence, and they're waiting for someone brave enough to stop playing and start connecting. Boundaries are part of vulnerability. Here's one of the biggest myths about vulnerability in dating: that being open means being available to everyone. That if you're emotionally honest, you have to accept whatever someone gives you. That if you love deeply, you must tolerate disrespect, confusion, or inconsistency. Let me be crystal clear: vulnerability and boundaries are not opposites. They are soulmates. You cannot practice real, grounded vulnerability without also practicing clear, compassionate boundaries. Because here's what happens when we don't set boundaries. We over-explain ourselves. We accept crumbs and call it a meal. We let someone's potential blind us to their patterns. We stay longer than we should, trying to earn love that should have been mutual from the start. And somewhere along the way, we convince ourselves that this is what vulnerability looks like. It's not. That's self-betrayal. That's overfunctioning. That's emotional exhaustion disguised as commitment. True vulnerability says, "This is who I am," but boundaries say, "And this is what I will and will not accept." Boundaries don't push people away. They filter in the right people. They protect your emotional energy. They give your voice strength. They make space for mutuality, not martyrdom. Here's the truth. You can say, I care about you, and also say, I won't tolerate inconsistency. You can say, I want to keep seeing you, and also say, I need clarity about where this is going. You can be vulnerable and self-respecting at the same time. In fact, that's the most powerful kind of vulnerability there is. Because people who honor your boundaries are people who are emotionally ready for a real relationship. They won't test you, they won't guilt you, they won't make you feel like your standards are unreasonable. They'll meet you where you are, with presence, with clarity, and with respect. And the ones who don't, let them walk, because your vulnerability is sacred, and anyone who treats it like a convenience instead of a gift has no place in the next chapter of your heart. So if you've been taught that setting boundaries is cold, rude, or unloving, let me rewrite that narrative for you. Boundaries are love. Boundaries are clarity. Boundaries are how you protect your vulnerability, not hide it. You don't have to choose between being open and being strong. You can be both. You deserve to be both. And that's where real love begins. Emotional safety is built, not assumed. Vulnerability is brave, but it's not reckless. There's this idea floating around, especially in modern dating culture, that if you're really vulnerable, you should just open up to anyone. That honesty means full emotional access. That love requires instant exposure, but that's not courage, that's collapse. Vulnerability requires boundaries, but more than that, it requires emotional safety. And here's the truth most people don't talk about. Emotional safety is not something you automatically owe someone. It's something that gets earned over time through consistency, care, and trust. You don't get on a first date and unload your entire story. You don't open your heart to someone just because they said all the right things. You don't give someone the keys to your inner world before you've seen how they handle the front door. We get to ask, have they shown respect for my time and energy? Do they respond, or do they disappear when it gets uncomfortable? Do they know how to handle emotions, or do they shut down or deflect? Are they consistent or only present when it benefits them? These are not judgments. These are protections, and emotional safety is built in the little things, showing up when you say you will, listening without trying to fix or control, asking how someone feels, and making room for the answer. Taking responsibility instead of shifting blame. If someone hasn't created that kind of space, your vulnerability will feel exposed, not held. And when vulnerability is met with silence, mockery, deflection, or distance, it creates shame. It wires us for fear. It teaches us to shut down next time, and that's not love. That's trauma repeating itself. So here's what I want you to know. It is not your job to be vulnerable with everyone. It is your job to be authentic. But authenticity simply means you're living in your truth, not that you're handing your heart to people who haven't proven they know how to hold it. You can be open without being unguarded. You can be kind without being naive. You can be vulnerable and wise. Emotional safety isn't something we wait around hoping for. It's something we co-create. And if someone isn't meeting you there, you don't need to push harder. You need to step back and ask if they're even capable of the kind of depth you're offering. You are not hard to love. You are just unwilling to pretend anymore. And that's beautiful. Rejection hurts, but regret hurts more. Let's be real. Rejection stings. It doesn't matter how emotionally evolved you are, how thick your skin is, or how many self-help books you've read. Being vulnerable and not being met there hurts. You put yourself out there. You tell someone how you feel. You hope, you open, and then silence, dismissal, disconnection. There's a very particular ache in being honest with someone and having that honesty go unheld. And the natural impulse is to say, never again, to armor up, to get cynical, to decide that from now on you'll keep your feelings to yourself and never risk getting hurt again. But here's what I've learned. Rejection hurts, but regret hurts more, because regret lingers. It wakes you up at 2 a.m., wondering what if. It shows up in the middle of conversations you're not having. It fills the silence you created by playing small or staying hidden. Rejection is a wound, but regret is a slow erosion of your courage. Here's what most people don't realize. Every time you don't say what you feel, every time you don't ask the question, every time you don't show your heart, you may avoid the sting of rejection. But you also rob yourself of truth, of growth, of freedom, of the chance to find someone who actually sees and values you. Rejection is not a sign you were wrong to speak. It's a sign that the other person wasn't ready or able to meet you where you were. And that's valuable information, that's clarity, that's emotional sorting. It saves you months or years of trying to earn love from someone who was never truly available. But regret whispers that maybe you weren't enough. It gaslights your bravery. It convinces you to shrink, and over time, it convinces you that vulnerability is dangerous. So let me offer you this. Say what you need to say, even if your voice shakes, even if your heart races, even if the outcome is uncertain, because what you gain by being brave will always outweigh what you lose by staying silent. The kind of love you're looking for, the kind that's honest, mutual, and soul deep, only shows up when you do. And yes, you might get rejected, but you'll never have to ask yourself, what if I had just been real? You'll know you were real, and that is the deepest kind of freedom. Vulnerability is the gateway to authentic love. At the end of the day, most of us don't want perfect love. We want real love. We want the kind of love that sees us when we're tired, messy, unfiltered, scared, and chooses us anyway. But here's the paradox. The only way to be loved for who you really are is to show who you really are. And that's vulnerability. Vulnerability is the gateway to authentic love, not polished love, not convenient love, not transactional love, but love that's honest, love that's rooted, love that doesn't require a mask. If you've ever felt unseen in a relationship, chances are you were never fully visible, not because you're fake. No, not that, but because you were protecting yourself, hiding parts, shrinking needs, performing stability when you were really hurting. We do this because we've been hurt before, because somewhere along the way we learned that being real equals being rejected. So we adapt. We try to become what someone else wants, hoping we'll be loved enough to finally feel safe. But that's not how real love works. You can't earn it through perfection. You can't manufacture it by being agreeable. You can't fake your way into being truly known. You can only receive authentic love when you show up authentically. That means telling the truth, even when it's awkward. It means letting someone see you cry, even when you'd rather look strong. It means asking for what you need, even when it feels risky. It means saying, "This is me, not the version of me I thought you'd like, just me." Because here's the thing, when you lead with vulnerability, you give people a choice. They can lean in or step away, and that choice, it's sacred. Because if they lean in, you know they're choosing you, not your mask, not your performance, not your filtered self, you. And if they step away, it's not rejection, it's redirection. It's life making space for the kind of connection that can only be built on truth. Vulnerability is terrifying, but it's also magnetic. It draws in what's real, it repels what's not, and it allows for love that doesn't just feel good on the surface, but feels safe in your soul. So if you're tired of pretending, if you're exhausted from guessing how much of yourself is too much, If you're ready to be loved without shrinking, performing, or hiding, vulnerability is the door, and authentic love is waiting on the other side. The brave path to real love. So, here's what I hope you take with you. In a world that tells you to be cool, detached, and unbothered, be the one who cares deeply. In a dating culture built on games and ghosting, be the one who chooses honesty over hiding. In a sea of surface level connections, be the one who shows up with soul. Vulnerability isn't about being weak, it's about being whole. It's about honoring your heart enough to share it. It's about building something honest, even if it comes with uncertainty. It's about knowing that your truth is not a liability. It's a compass. It leads you toward the people who can truly meet you. And yes, there will be fear. Yes, you might get hurt. But what's the alternative? To live half, loved, half expressed, and fully guarded. You weren't made for that. You were made for connection, for depth, for love that makes you feel safe and seen. So keep showing up. Keep being real. Keep choosing courage over comfort, because the people who are meant for you, they won't be scared off by your truth. They'll feel at home in it, and that's where real love begins.